there, Simon from simonwoods.com. 6 wines in pairs. I've got 3 pairs, and well, I'll tell you what they've got in common, these pairs, as we go along them. First 2, both from the same winery, in Crossroads winery, in, well, I'm not sure whether they're based in Marlborough or Hawke's Bay. I think they're based in Hawke's Bay, but they do certainly draw fruit from both for their wines. I've done a couple of videos where I've done like their Marlborough Riesling and their Marlborough Pinot Noir, but the rest of the stuff, the Chardonnays from Hawke's Bay. I think they've got a, God, I can't remember, was it a Cabernet Sauvignon from Hawke's Bay? There's something else from Hawke's Bay. No, a Shiraz, that was it. But first one I've got is a Merlot. So Crossroads Merlot 2008 vintage from Hawke's Bay in New Zealand. Smells nice, simple, ripe, but still leafy and fresh. I mean, one of the problems I find with Merlot in some non-European contexts, well, certainly non-Bordeaux contexts, is they over-ripen it and it gets into this stewed, rather jammy, chocolatey mess of a wine. And I think Merlot should always have some of this leafy freshness, and this one seems to have got it. Quite bright blackcurrant and berry fruit. Nice. Bit of chocolatey oak. Almost a bit too fruity, if that makes any sense at all. I think that's almost a wine that I want to pour out, leave for an hour or so, and just let it calm down, because it's I've just opened the bottle. It's a bit too bouncy and juicy at the moment, and it just needs to lose some of that straight out of the box vigour. But I like that leafy edge to this plum berry chocolate fruit. Good rather than great. Let's see if they're. I think this is their flagship wine. It's called Talisman, and there's some Merlot in here, and there's probably some Cabernet Sauvignon, and there's probably some Malbec, and there's probably some Petit Verdot, and there's probably some Shiraz. They won't tell you what's in it. It's a secret blend. I think it's probably the Bordeaux grapes plus a bit of Shiraz in there. That's what I have been led to believe. Let's see if you can tell from smelling it. Well, it's certainly got that well-known grape variety oak in there. I get the first thing I notice is this chocolate wafer biscuit oak. And depending on where you are in the world, you might have had blue ribbon biscuits or taxi biscuits. Kit Kats aren't quite the same. It's a different sort of chocolate wafer. It's thin chocolate with an almond edge to the cream in the wafer biscuits. But that's the thing I get. I mean, the fruit is there behind, but 2008, so I don't know how long it's been in barrel, but say it's been in barrel for 16 months or so, and then had a bit of time to calm down. It won't have been bottled all that long ago. Well, if there is a Shiraz component there, there's certainly like this spicy warmth. Other grapes I notice in there, well, I've been making it up. It feels like a soft, rounded, quite well made, but it feels like it's almost been made rather than, I don't get too much life beyond winemaking, life beyond the varietals that are used. So well made, but I'd like almost like a little bit more personality of the vineyards coming through. And it may be that it will open up and show those with further time open, but at the moment it's just a bit shy. The Chardonnay's been my favourite of those wines from Crossroads so far, which I would never have suspected. Okay, we're in Argentina for the next 2, and this one is Altos Los Hormigas, and it's their Malbec 2009. I think this is an estate owned by an Italian guy called Alberto Antonini, or part owned by him. Certainly he makes the wines there. And yeah, give it a whirl. And this, it feels more vibrant and fresh than the 2 that have gone before. It feels like it's got some of that Malbec fragrance, some of those violets, and if there is an edge of chocolate here, it feels like it's from the grapes rather than from barrels. And then this lovely blueberry, blackberry flesh as well. And I did some Italian wines that Alberto Antonini had made in a video a month or so ago. A couple of Chiantis, and it felt like the guy had actually calmed down on his winemaking, and the vineyard character was coming through far more than in the vintages that he was making 5 years ago. It's got this, I mean, Malbec at this stage is just lovely, and providing someone's not swamped it with oak, and they've certainly not done that here. It's lovely, juicy, open, warm-hearted. It's fragrant. It's got some spice in there. It's got some savoury characters. But it finishes refreshing. It's weird, rich but refreshing. And I don't know whether he's toned down his alcohol levels. It doesn't feel like it's trying too hard. It just feels to be confident in its in its grapes. Really nice. There's a pure crunchiness about it, which is very nice. A bit more European influence in this next one. Viñalba, cuvée Couture, which is a range apparently rather than just this particular one. Malbec Touriga Nacional. That's an interesting blend. Reserva 2008. And Viñalba is a venture, I think it's part French, there's some Bordeaux people involved, let's see if you can see on the back, the RVG Fabre from Domaine Vistalba. But the Touriga Nacional has been made by quite a famous Portuguese winemaker called Rui Araguinga. So, first time I've tried this, so let's see what it's like. Well, there's a sweetness and a meat. It's weird. There's a bit of sweetness and there's a bit of meatiness. It's a year older than the Altos Los Hormigas one, and it feels like it's a more developed and it's going to be a bit more powerful. And certainly Touriga Nacional is one of those grapes that adds flavour, fragrance, and structure to a wine. I find it Touriga Nacional you can do it by itself, but I always like it with a few other things in there as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this works with Malbec. And there's almost like a ginger-like character, which I get in quite a lot of Touriga Nacional. Ginger and these ripe berries, this cassis as well. Some of that, that oily, fresh Malbec crunchiness that was in the previous one. I'm really not so sure about that at the moment. It feels, the flavour I'm left with is just a bit medicinal. It feels young and vibrant, so I'm again prepared to give this the benefit of the doubt and see if it will calm down further with further time that the wine's open. But at the moment, it almost feels a bit too correct, and the Touriga has taken away some of the joy of the Malbec. And I don't know how old the Touriga Nacional vines would be there, but I can't imagine they're all that old. Portugal is not one of the main countries that's had an influence on Argentina's wine. So yeah, I'm getting these the flavours I'm left with, structure, and yeah, there's this sweetness of fruit, but there's not really lots and lots of dense pleasure that I was getting in the previous one. Final two Aussie Cabernets. Different states, different regions, different shaped bottles. Not sure about different prices, but let's give them a whirl. McGuigan, The Shortlist, Coonawarra Cabernet Sauvignon. And I stick my nose in there, and it is so Cabernet, it's so Australian Cabernet. It's got this, it's got this black currant, it's got this blackberry, but there's almost like this slightly leathery edge there too. A earthy sweetness. It's, there was the first wine I came across this in, well, I don't know if it still exists now, there's one called Mount Anarchy, A-N-A-K-I-E, Mount Anarchy Cabernet, and which was, I think, central Victoria somewhere, or maybe more on I think it was Geelong way, maybe, so not central Victoria. But it is really, really pure, almost too pure, almost like, not monodimensional, but you almost wish there were a few other flavours going on. That's for me is Cabernet Sauvignon. Sometimes, as with Touriga Nacional, it can survive by itself, but for me, in blends, it always gains something from having something to it there as a supporting cast. It's got ripeness, it's got purity, it's got an edge of mint. It's refreshing, and the oak's been reasonably well done. But it feels, as I was expecting, simple. It feels simple, honest but simple. The finish I'm left with, it feels slightly dry, and as if the acidification has not been done with quite as much sympathy as I'd have liked. I'm left with a slightly hard edge. Rather than fruit juiciness, which I think would have been there without the acidification. Yeah, this is when I find out it hasn't been acidified, of course, but it does feel like there's something hard there that's muddying the finish. Let's see if we get that character on the final wine. Tahbilk, 2006 Cabernet Sauvignon, from the Nagambie Lakes in central Victoria. And the Tahbilk style is usually a bit more resolutely old-fashioned and slightly, not too brash fruit. And it's good to see that they're releasing their 2006 here rather than when quite a lot of wineries will be on, almost like pushing to get their 2009 out. And this has got a similarly open, juicy fruit flavours, but it feels like there's going to be more than just that immediate spike of black currants. Yes, there are black currants, but there's also plums, there's also berries, and it feels like there's softer, gentler flavours going on there as well. And of course, it's a thing about maturity. What vintage was the shortlist? 2008. But I don't think that with 2 extra years, the shortlist would have this breadth of flavour that I'm getting in the Tahbilk. Well, it's a bit richer and fuller than maybe Tahbilk was 10-15 years ago, but there's still this warm-hearted earthiness about it. but there's juicier, fresher fruit than I remember. And interesting that it's under a screw cap, and it's at 4 years old. It's still got quite a bit of freshness still in there, but it feels broader. It feels richer, and more confident as a wine than the shortlisted. It feels like there's more going on, and the finish is quite dry, but it doesn't feel like it's been mucked up as much as the one on the McGuigan. Yeah, I like that. Don't love it. I think my favourite of this 6 has been the Malbec, but okay set of 6 wines. Hey, see you soon.